Join your host, Maddie Roche, as she brings you into a community of fee-only financial advisors who are successfully building profitable businesses that serve the next generation of clients. Learn from innovative advisors whose unique stories will inspire you to dream big and take action on your goals. Are you ready to live your best life and help your clients live theirs? Then you're in the right place.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of XYPN Radio. I'm Maddie Roche, your host. I'm honored to interview the leaders of the XYPN Diversity Committee on the show today. Shehara Wooten, Miguel Gomez, Ryan Frailich, and Abel Soares have all served over the past 12 months on our Diversity Committee. Each of these advisors joined me today to discuss the value of the CFP designation and their own personal journey pursuing it. Shehara, Miguel, Ryan, and Abel each have really unique stories about the road to the CFP and into this industry generally. But each shares that the commonality among them is that the scholarship and the community support that they received along the way were essential to their success. We talk about what kind of barriers of entry exist for advisors of color or folks without financial means. We talk about what it means to transition into this industry as a career changer and how the CFP establishes credibility and provides the foundation and the knowledge advisors need to succeed in this profession. We also discuss the scholarships that XYPN's Diversity Committee offers to advisors, both in and out of the network, to make the CFP more accessible, achieved, and utilized. If you're interested in pursuing the CFP designation, this show is for you. Avocado toast, selfies, a mountain of student loan debt. Gen Y is anything but traditional, and with over 75 million people, it's a population you don't want to ignore. Learn more about how to serve this unique population in our guide called Attract and Profitably Serve Millennial Clients in Your RIA. Discover 3 key ways to tap into the millennial market and 6 things that they want from their financial advisor. Visit xyplanningnetwork.com/millennials for your free copy. You can find any of the resources we mentioned during the episode at xyplanningnetwork.com/267. Also, be sure to go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP to join our private group just for XYPN radio listeners. It's the community of advisors we've all been looking for that's there to provide support when needed the most. Best of all, it's free. I encourage you to check it out. Again, that's xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP. Without further ado, here's my interview with Shehara, Miguel, Abel, and Ryan. How are all of you? Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Maddie.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Doing great.
Awesome. Well, we've got a number of XYPN members on the line today, all leaders of our diversity committee for this year. We're here to talk about the journey to the CFP, why it was important for them, how they went about it, and how we at XYPN are supporting other advisors to do the same. But before we begin, let's get to know some of our members on the line today. Shehara, would you mind starting us off on an introduction to yourself and your firm?
Yes. My name is Shehara Wooten, and I started my firm 4 years ago today. So we're actually recording this broadcast on the day that I started my firm in 2016. Wow. Yeah. So super excited about that. But I started on my journey into the financial industry back in 2004 as a career changer, electrical and computer engineer. And so I decided I wanted to help people and just really, help folks with financial literacy and get the word out. And 2016, after that journey through working at another firm and working in the financial services industry, I just decided that it's time for me to work with individuals regardless of their age or assets. And that's what I did. I started Your Story Financial because I believe everybody has a financial success story they want to create, and I helped them create that. So it's been a great journey. It's had its ups and downs, but I wouldn't trade it.
Awesome. No good journey has a lack of ups and downs. That's for sure.
That's right.
Shehara, where are you located and how many clients do you work with?
Yeah, so I'm located in Plano, Texas. I just tell people Dallas Metroplex. Moved here in March 2020, so right before, like a few days before COVID and quarantining and lockdown. But I have been virtual since I started my firm, so that wasn't a big issue. And I started my firm in Phoenix. I moved to Orlando, And now I'm in Dallas. So I try not to have my location be such an issue because I don't know that Dallas will be my last place. Who knows? So virtual is definitely how I like to present it.
Yes. Awesome.
Yes.
Abel, how about you? You want to tell the listeners a bit about yourself and your firm?
Sure thing. Thank you, Maddie. So I kind of came into it from the CPA side where I was preparing taxes. I developed a passion for financial planning about a decade ago when I was doing my master's in taxation and took my first financial planning course. And it kind of was that bug that just kind of stuck in me, even though I was a tax accountant and an auditor during the years. I branched off on my own in 2015, about 5 years ago, mostly doing taxes and accounting. But then I was able to start working my way towards the CFP. And in doing so, I also was working at the PFS at the same time since they had similar credentialing profiles. Because I had almost all of my clients asking me, oh, well, how should I do this on the personal side as far as investments or retirement planning and things of the sort? And I just felt that it blended hand in hand with the CPA firm that I had, especially noticing that there's a disparity in information that was provided to individuals because they would get information from the CPA and one from the financial advisor, and it wouldn't always match up. So my goal was to try and find a way to give them the best advice holistically across the board. And that's why I started Hui Malama Advisors, which is Team of Caretaking Advisors, and got it all started about 2 years ago after getting my credentials. And same thing, like Shehara was talking about, I'm remote, set up in Hawaii currently. So don't feel too bad for us if we're working hard during these times because we still have an escape here. But that's kind of the roadmap, and then give you a few more tidbits later on.
Yeah, great, Abel. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your story. Thank you. Ryan, how about you?
Hey, Maddie. So I am a career changer, similar to Shehara. I was actually a teacher and then worked in schools as an administrator. And back in 2016, due to some advice from my own planner, decided to pursue the CFP. And so I, started the CFP coursework and actually started my firm around the same time, back in late 2016, early 2017. So my firm, Deliberate Finances, is about 3.5 years old. And I'm based out of New Orleans, but also have clients all over the country. So I think last I counted, it was like 9 or 10 different states. So I've been virtual and in person, depending on where people are located, for a while. And I work with about 40 clients, give or take, right now, primarily young professionals, who are, I describe my clients as people who, are early in their careers and trying to manage all the different pieces of their financial life, and who oftentimes, are making more money than they expected to. So maybe went into public service, nonprofit type roles and are now in leadership positions in those areas. So, I've had a sudden rise in income to an amount that is probably more than they were anticipating given the line of work they chose. And I was actually, I got a scholarship for the CFP exam from the CFP board, and that was big in my sort of journey to becoming a CFP. So we'll talk more about that later, but I've sort of had some firsthand experience with on my CFP journey, getting some help along the way.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much. Miguel, how about you?
Okay, well, I was born in Mexico. I've been in the industry since 2007. First as a marketing consultant and then as an advisor. My focus is on people that prefer to talk Spanish when talking about money. So there's a huge need about that. I serve about 40 clients in the firm called Lauterbach Financial Advisors. I've been with them since 2009. And then I got my CFP in 2014, and it made a big difference in how I serve clients.
Great. That's exactly why we're here today. I really want to dive into each of your journeys to the CFP, why it was important to get for you personally and professionally, how you got it, the timing for it, what support you sought for it, whether you got any education programs or scholarships related to it, and really how it's impacted you as an advisor long term. So, Shehara, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to expand a bit on your story to the CFP and take your time with it. I'm interested in kind of the ins and outs of what went into it. We'll have some follow-up questions for each of you about that. But go ahead and paint us the picture of what was Shehara like pre-CFP.
All right. Thank you, Maddie. Yes. So I, after some soul searching, praying, and all of that, I decided to change my career from being an electrical and computer engineer. I was in sales in that side of the business. And reading Purpose Driven Life and What Color is Your Parachute, I decided to change careers and come on board with the financial services industry. So that was in 2004. And my first role was working at an annuities company. So I was an internal wholesaler. And honestly, I wasn't really thinking too much about the CFP. I was just so glad to be in the industry, learning, getting my understanding. And really the goal was to eventually start to help people with their finances. And in 2009, I decided to work with, because being a wholesaler, you're working with other financial planners, financial advisors, different firms. And in 2009, I changed over to another firm. 2009 was a tough year because the market was crashing. The world was it was just a crazy time. And it was really at that point that I said, well, do I need to go back into the technical fields? And, did I make a mistake? But I decided to continue. And that's when I, went with a broker-dealer firm, and they set it up that, I would be able to get clients. Prior to that, I realized that my friends didn't have enough money and all of this. So I just needed a way to be able to get in front of people. And their business model was knocking on doors. So you probably can figure out who that was. But knocked on thousands of doors, and in Phoenix, 110 degrees, started in June of 2009. So if you look at the Weather Channel right now, you could probably figure out what Shehara was doing at that time. So after a few years there, I was there almost 7 years, and it just came to me that I really wanted to work with people in a different way. I noticed that the clients and the folks that were attracted to me may not have had as many assets. And it really dawned on me that you do want to have clients with assets if you're using this particular business model. So that's when I learned about the RIA world, the fee-only world, and then transitioned and changed careers or changed the firm type and became an RIA. And then I knew that I wanted to get the CFP once I came on board as an RIA, just because I felt that it could give me some more credibility. Being on my own, not having the brand recognition. I also will have to dispute the fact that I hear from a lot of advisors that no one ever asks about your CFP. And for me, that was the case. Back in 2013, 2011 timeframe, I think there was a 6-week window where I had about 3 to 4 people asking me, do you have the CFP? Yeah. And I just thought, wow, why am I getting asked this question? I pretty much have gotten asked that question pretty much ever since I started, being a financial advisor. So I just wanted, as a Black woman, I understand there's barriers, and I just wanted to eliminate any other barriers. So finally, in 2017, about 6 months after starting my firm, I decided to pursue the CFP, got my materials, and started to study. And soon after I got my materials, my husband, he proposed. Oh. So I was, so excited about that. And I told everybody, and he lived in Orlando, I was in Phoenix. So I told everybody, I'm going to be getting my CFP. I'm going to get married. I'm going to move to Orlando. And I was like, I can do it all. And everybody said, wow, that's a lot, Shehara. But you know what? Yeah, you can do it.
Oh, and yeah.
So I got married, got to Orlando, and then I started really digging deep into the book. So that was 2017, the end of 2017. So the last quarter of 2017. And then I planned to take the exam in March of 2018. Sat for the exam after studying lots and lots, 3 to 4 hours a day from February till, the exam time, and did not pass. I couldn't believe it. Because I had always passed exams. I'm an engineer, these things don't happen. So then I decided we're going to do July, and so I changed a little bit. I already had a study buddy prior to, but I added another study buddy. Then I got a tutor, did a different aspect of the program I was in, and took the exam in July. And again, did not pass. I just could not believe it. At this point, I, spoke with some of my colleagues, and we were thinking, wow, maybe this isn't it. Maybe you need to pivot. And that was the first time I even heard that word. And I thought, I've been doing this since 2004. I've been around. Do I really need this? But, I decided I will take a year off. And that was after listening to some advice, because at the Dallas XYPN conference in 2017, I was getting, like I said, I was about to get married, and I spoke with an advisor and said, I'm going to get married. I'm about to take the exam. I'm about to move. He was like, oh my gosh, that's cool. I'm glad you're taking the exam. I took it 3 times. And I said, what? Okay, well, yeah, that won't be me. Well, after July 2018, I did give him a call, and I said, I remember you saying that, you took it 3 times. How about I'm on that path? And he gave me some great advice, and I ended up taking a year off. And when it was time, I researched some other programs and just kind of looked at everything in terms of what I needed to change to make sure that I created the best success story for me. And I found the Dalton Guaranteed to Pass program, just really engrossed myself into it. And I can now say July 2019, last year, I'll be celebrating about a year and a few days. I did take it and pass. So I'm just so thankful. And it's just been a blessing. I think it's just a great way to just help to build your abilities. It takes away from some of the excuses people might have to work with me. At least that's part of my motivation. But it also just gives me the ability to just have a knowledge base to go from. I already had the experience, I already had a lot of the different aspects, but just having that credential just really, just helps me to be able to do more for my clients and just have that ability to put my clients' best interest, even though I was doing that. But it just puts that stamp of approval in there. So it's been a journey, but I can definitely share tips on what I did and what I would recommend later on.
Absolutely. Well, it must feel so good to have achieved that. The harder we work for certain things, and once we get it, it's like, there's nothing we can't do. So really awesome story. Miguel, I'm interested in your opinion of why was the CFP important for you to pursue in your career?
Well, because I didn't know much about financial planning at all, really. Even though I've been in the industry for a number of years, I knew, the basics. I knew how to sell. That was my first experience in the industry, was about selling stuff, mutual funds, annuities, and those kind of things, life insurance, but really not within the context of financial planning. So getting the designation and all the study work that it took, it really helped me to see clients in a different way and to really focus on the planning rather than just the transaction. So it has helped me better serve my clients and to answer their questions in a better way. Before, it was just a transaction-based thing. And because of that, my advancement at the firm was not possible. They said, well, that's not the type of person we want. We want someone that knows their stuff, not just pushing products, but knows really how to serve clients. So without the CFP, you are not able to do that. So you need to go back and study and learn. So that's what I did. It took me a while, but I got it done. It took me 3 years to go to the coursework, and then I did the test, and it went well. But it really made a big difference going through the study program and making sure that I know, rather than just pushing stuff, but really know about how to create a plan. So it made a huge difference in my career.
Great. Awesome. And we'll talk more about kind of how you use it day to day. Abel, what about you? What was your journey to the CFP?
So my journey to the CFP, as mentioned, kind of started with that bug that was planted about 10 years ago when I was doing my master's program, and just kind of followed me ever since. I did self-research along the way about financial planning topics, and just kind of tried to get myself in the know for my own benefit, but then because I would also just get questions coming in from clients. Same thing kind of happened during my accounting career, where I was asked why I got a master's in tax if I was doing audit. It was because I didn't want to be that auditor in the field being asked a tax question, and I didn't know where to at least point them in the right direction to. So then I kind of got into the CFP and financial planning realm because of that. And I wanted to have that more well-rounded knowledge. Just this last year, I started to learn, I guess, how rare the tandem is, because there's about 650,000 CPAs in the nation, and there's 310,000 financial advisors. And of those financial advisors, there's about 87,000 that are CFPs, but there's only a little over 7,500 that have both. So that's less than 1% of the total population that have both. So that was kind of something that made it all worthwhile, being able to see it on the back end, and kind of how I'm in rare company there. But yeah, I wanted to be able to be more entrepreneurial. I don't think there's any way you can 100% future-proof yourself, but I wanted to be able to know I could diversify and be nimble. I was never just the accountant that would be able to sit in a broom closet, especially like when out auditing. So I wanted to have a little bit more client interaction and be more consultative, and kind of push my way forward with that. My, I guess, final path in the stages where I was interested in it, didn't know kind of how to get started. And I saw XYPN at the AICPA conference in 2017.
Wow. I think I was there.
Yeah, it was. I was listening to Adam and Michael Kitsis. They were both presenting, and then and then in October I signed up for the capstone course through the CFFP.
Yeah.
Passed it, I guess, in November, and right when I passed it, I also met my experience requirement. So I scheduled the March exam on the first day of the window.
Oh, great.
I also had a commercial construction business that I was a vice president of at the time. And the week before the exam, I went to the manufacturer for training and things like that. And I had a 1-year-old. He had just turned 1 about a month before taking it. So I somehow came out the backside with only about 40 to 80 hours of study at most, including the capstone course, and was able to pass it on the first time, and then started the process of moving out here to Hawaii and figuring out how to register the firm in the RIA, and then trying to just chug forward ever since.
Yeah,
but
great.
Then also got the, I guess, diversity scholarship at that time, and that helped me out quite a bit. But I guess I can expand on that a little bit later.
Cool. Awesome. One of the first things I noticed about XYPN members when I joined the team was how much you all take on as you decide to start businesses too. Shehara's story is a perfect example too. There's just always, as humans, we've got so much competing priorities. And I was always so humbled by how well you all handled it. And turns out you guys are planners for a reason. So Ryan, I know you were a career changer. What was your journey to the CFP?
So as I mentioned earlier, I was a career changer. The seed was planted to do the CFP actually by my financial planner at the time, Jude Boudreau. So thanks, Jude, for kind of setting this in motion. And so to Maddie's point of taking on a lot, I was doing CFP coursework while starting my firm. And then my son was born in March of 2017. So 2017 was a lot, new baby, new business, and CFP. And so, I did Dalton throughout my CFP coursework. And for me, it was just really important to make sure that I had a firm foundation in like all the different aspects of finances, because I felt like I had a really solid understanding of some stuff around investments and some basics around, taxes, but there's so many nuanced things and that you want to be able to say, yes, I know about that, even if it's possible that you're going to need to go look it up, but knowing, oh, there's that thing that I need to go look up. So one that came up for me recently was like, I was working with a new client who had a previous spouse, and we were talking about Social Security. I was like, I need to go back and look up, okay, there's that rule about drawing on benefits of your former spouse in 10 years, right? It's the first time I've had to use that rule since I was in CFP coursework, but it's the sort of thing that you pick up that you go, oh, wait, there's a thing right there that I need to go and find more about.
Yeah.
So it's just really important to me to sort of like give me a really, really holistic education rather than just focusing on the specific topics that people have been asking me about, and making sure I was prepared for, the myriad of situations that people might bring. I took the exam in November of 2017, and I actually got a exam scholarship from the CFP board, which is really helpful because, I had a new baby and a new business. Needless to say, finances were tight. And so for me, like that little extra bit of boost helped to take a little bit of stress off and make me feel like, there was one less thing to be stressed about when I was going through the whole process. And so it was really helpful in sort of removing a small barrier, but a barrier nonetheless that was, making it harder to focus on exam studying and kind of the priorities. So that was November of 2017. And then due to some previous work experience, I got the letters themselves late in 2018. And I mean, it's helped a lot. I think both externally, marketing and people asking, but also just internally knowing like, I did the work to get the credential that this industry looks at as being sort of the gold standard in this industry. And I think that helps with confidence when you're going into a meeting.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you, Ryan. I love that bridge of kind of the barrier to entry is oftentimes passing this exam, getting enough to take, those academic support programs to get you prepared and things like that. XYPN has done a number of things over the years to help make the CFP something that advisors want to shoot for, but also that is accessible to them. And Shehara, I'd be interested in you as a leader on our diversity committee to explain a little bit about kind of what XYPN's diversity committee has done to help make the CFP accessible to folks of color and folks that may not have had access to the CFP otherwise.
Yes, Maddie. Yeah, the CFP, it can be a very expensive venture, right? So you've got the exam costs, but then let's go back. You have the review, you have the education. There's so many different aspects of that. And I'm really excited to be a part of the diversity committee for the purposes of being able to remove those barriers to getting the CFP. And before I joined, they had already done the initiative of getting a CFP exam scholarship. So people who are planning to take the CFP in the windows, the testing windows, March, November, July, can apply for that scholarship. And there's 5 diversity scholarships. So that was awesome to join. And the diversity committee had already done that initiative. And then one of the initiatives that I started was actually adding the CFP review to that. And it can be very pricey to take and get to take those courses. It's very important and imperative to passing the exam to do a review program. And it's just really exciting that, XYPN has been supportive of our diversity committee to be able to help to defray the cost of getting the CFP by adding the CFP review program as well. And hopefully we can do more, hopefully we can add more, but I think, these are some good starts to it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And Shehara, thank you for your work on this, and the whole committee. Thank you for caring about this and working hard this year. We really do hope to really build out a path to the CFP. 65% of advisors at XYPN are CFPs. I would say about 10% of the 35 that aren't have decided not to pursue it, but the other 25% are either in the process of and working towards it or looking for opportunities to begin the process. So the Diversity Committee and having a leadership position on this committee allows you to take initiative like Shehara and the rest of the team has to be able to build out some of these programs to reduce those barriers. And it's interesting to hear each of your stories because it sounds like a number of you had received a scholarship of some sort in your journey. Abel, you mentioned that. Could you talk a little bit about why that was helpful for you and what kind of impact that had?
Sure thing. So as mentioned, it was only a couple months before I had to move out to Hawaii here following my wife that was in the military. We're on our way to having our second child. When I took the exam, it was probably about 3 months before having our second son. And then just looking at kind of the vision of the firm. So Hui Malama Advisors is the parent company, but there's 3 subsidiaries. One is the tax and accounting, one is the financial advising that the CFP designation is hung on, and then life and financial coaching, because it seemed like if you have a small business owner, you'd be able to assist them in all 3 walks of life there, and wanting to be able to give them holistic care from the financial advisement standpoint. But the scholarship was, I'd say, it just came at the right time because trying to start everything up and all the expenses. I also started a trucking company. I know I talked about the commercial construction before. So at that time, I had 3 businesses. Now I'm up to 8, and I've started teaching part-time. I'm going to be full-time here this next semester. So it's the scholarship helped kind of kickstart things and get me involved, and then it helped light the fire to join the diversity committee as well, because I did receive something and wanted to be able to somehow, some way give back. I know I've been very busy in the past year and probably not able to do as much as I wanted to or could have been able to do, but it's been a great experience being a part of the diversity committee with everybody on the call here.
Oh, that's so nice to hear, Abel. And I think, winning a scholarship is, it helps the ego a bit, knowing that you've got the support and the backing of folks. It's kind of like that debt snowball you talk about, like one little win can really help you get the next wins. Miguel, in your journey towards the CFP, what did you find is the most challenging part of integrating the studying and the programming into your professional career as an adult? Because going back to school is not something everyone wants to do.
Yeah, so fortunately, I started before having kids. I finished right before that. So I had a little bit more time than others here in the call. But it was challenging in that I had zero knowledge of taxes. So absolutely zero, for example. That was the most challenging program for me. But it helped that I knew some tax people that we could talk those things about. It was also very challenging in that making the time to study. I said earlier that it took me 3 years to go through the educational program, and it took me 3 years because I failed one of the classes and I had to retake it. So, it was just managing my time in an effective way to be able to work full time and then study and then making the test for each of the classes. And then at the end, it really helped a lot to be able to focus on a review course through the College of Financial Planning. And that really helped because it finished, I believe, 2 weeks before the actual test occurred. So the knowledge was really, really fresh back on the top of my head. I was able to remember things that I studied 3 years before through that program. So it was super useful to be able to go through that.
Awesome. Shehara, you mentioned that you really felt it added credibility. And as someone who was a career changer, can you talk a little bit about that and the imposter syndrome some career changers may feel as they enter into this industry?
Yeah, I think that, having the CFP, for me, I pretty much had removed a lot of that imposter syndrome just because I had been in it, prior to. So 2004 is when I changed careers. I was able to get into a company and learn about annuities and, one of the most difficult type of products. And so I really was building up to this point and building up my confidence. But I can totally see why somebody would feel like, they're coming from a place of not having that knowledge, and imposter syndrome. It comes all the time. I think when you talk to engineers, we have a hard time having, not having confidence. But when you are in the field itself, you still can feel like, I don't know this, I don't know that. But one thing and I'm going to speak to people who are engineers. One thing we always learned is that you have resources. You can always know that I know where to get the information. And that was one thing that I had learned even before getting into this industry, that if I know where to go to get the information, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I'll go find out. And I think that's what helps to really build that confidence. But like I said, for me, part of the CFP was to remove any excuses to not work with me, just because I had seen a few people say, oh, yeah, I would work with you if you were a CFP. So it's a really interesting, unique experience, because like I said, I hear a lot of people say that's not what they experience. But I just believe that, we have to just be confident that we know more than anyone else. Like, we are experts. When you come out of taking those 6 classes, when you come out of looking at your experiences, looking even at your experiences in your previous work, you can come in saying that I can draw from all of those experiences and be able to relate to the client. And if I don't know something, I can always find out. And I think that's what can help curb the imposter syndrome.
Great advice, Shehara. Thanks so much. Miguel, you mentioned that you took a prep course. What course did you take, and how long did you invest into that?
I went to the College for Financial Planning, and it took me, as I said, 3 years, going through the full program. At that time, it was 2000. I finished in 2014. So I believe at the time it was 5 classes. Now they require 6 classes. But it was super useful. And then the final prep course, 2 weeks before the test, was what made the huge difference on it, to be able just to pass the test. But it's really focusing, taking the time, making the practice. And then something that I believe also really helped was to be able to implement, even at a rookie level, that new knowledge that I was acquiring through the classes when meeting with clients. So asking questions, I was able to ask them more effective questions than before, and to be able to serve them better, because now I know a little bit more about planning than before. Obviously, that has changed over the years. I mean, I got the designation in 2014, but at that time, it was very useful to, ask for a client's tax return and see the return and relate it to what I was learning at the time. So it was kind of practice and training at the same time. And that really helped. And then the program itself, it was, I remember it as a very immersive experience, where we would go and spend a lot of time just in one of the classes. And then the next day, a full day, kind of like a refresher course on the second class, and so on. But it was a lot of information overload, but it made a huge difference in sitting for the test.
Great. Wonderful. Ryan, I'm interested, as a young advisor, have you found the CFP to be a differentiator for you?
Yes.
Tell me more.
I can give more than that. I think, I as a career changer don't necessarily have the same background as other folks do, in terms of, there's kind of the more sales focused side of the industry, and then there's the fiduciary, advice only side of the industry. And I think So I wasn't versed in some of those conflicts and internal debates. But for me, it's been remarkable how many people have read those articles. Every year it seems like there's a Wall Street Journal, New York Times, somewhere that says, if you're searching for a financial advisor, here's your 10, 12, 15 questions, whatever it is. And are you a CFP is always on the list. And we can debate whether that's right or wrong, but it's out there and people ask. And I noticed, I started my firm without it, and then I got it, and immediately there was an uptick just because of visibility, being on the CFP board's website, XYPN's Find an Advisor, and that directly led to some clients. But also just being able to say yes, not, previously to that, I was like, well, I'm on the road to, and that distinction mattered to people, right? And so, I think it really is crucial to have so that you can just say it and move on, rather than having any sort of hemming and hawing, which is what I was doing in the first year and a half or so I was in business of well, I'm in the coursework. Well, I've passed the test, but I don't have the experience hours because, there's all these kind of stages along the way.
Yep.
And I just feel like without it, I would just not be where I am in my business. And also just not have the confidence that I have to be able to say yep, I'm the advisor for you if you bring something to me that maybe I haven't, worked with intimately before. So it's just helpful to have kind of a well-rounded background.
Awesome. Wonderful. Abel, I'm interested. I love the number breakdown that you did for yourself about who you represent in the industry, given your designations. Tell me a bit, have you been able to use that as a value add to your clients, and have they been receptive to it?
So recently, after I learned about those numbers, yes, definitely. I think it puts it in perspective, especially for me. I came from just a hardworking family that didn't have any higher education, really. And when getting into first accountancy and then into financial planning, I didn't know what all the designations were. And I just was told, oh, well, if you're going to get your accounting degree, then you should get your CPA because it's going to help you and that's going to be able to open doors. And it was okay. I did that. And then I think I heard about the PFS before the CFP because of the accounting program I went through. But then I learned about the CFP and I was like, they're basically the same. And it looks like CFP has higher visibility. So then I was like, okay. I found out they had similar requirements, and I was like, okay, I can go ahead and get both of these at the same time. Let's be efficient. Yeah. So I went that route, and I didn't really know how beneficial it was going to be until I started seeing those numbers and then starting to get more into that financial planning and into that community, and seeing that I actually did something that was a little bit more worthwhile, and it kind of built that confidence, and that confidence has bled over into customer relations and my clients. So, yep, awesome. I think it worked well all the way around.
Yeah. I remember when looking to get into this industry, I was so relieved to see that the designation I needed to get was one that didn't require me to go back to school for 2 years and take out massive amounts of loans. I had to take out a small personal loan to start my CFP, but it was a huge relief to realize that there wasn't a massive requirement outside of kind of the work that goes into the CFP, which I quickly found out about. So, Shehara, I'm interested in your tips for our listeners about how to approach this, the journey to the CFP, not just the test, but the whole gamut. How do you get yourself kind of in the right mental space to be able to go after something as hard and as challenging as the CFP curriculum is?
Yes, Maddie, I agree. It's very challenging. And when I started this journey, I really thought that I just thought that, I can have all these life changes and everything is going to be fine. I had never been married before. I had never, moved across country and tried to study for such a challenging exam. And so I would recommend that people try to be in the calmest stage of your life, the most predictable stage. If you can try to do that, try. After I got married, when I waited that year, I just kind of enjoyed Orlando. I enjoyed the city I was living in. I really enjoyed being with my husband, all these different things that I was kind of letting go by the wayside because I needed to get this designation. And So that was a big lesson. But after passing the exam, I did make a list. And so I have like about 16 points. I'm not going to give them all on this, but, I'm willing to share it because after I passed last year, people did reach out to me and say, how did you pass? And I just would send it to them. But one of the things that I did outside of it was just, I started to just eat the right foods. I believe brain foods is so important, and it's one of those things we might, go by the wayside. And Maddie, you did want us to share our age, and I'll just share it. But I'm 45, right? So I'm probably one of the older ones on the call. And so I don't look it, but but I felt like, I need to get some brain food. I haven't had to memorize stuff in a long time. Be ready to memorize stuff. It's just, I'm so used to being able to go and get resources. But with this, you do have to memorize. Dedicate anywhere to 3 to 4 hours to studying every day. I did that on the first few times, but then actually I had to amp it up on the third time. And so I increased it to about 6 to 8 hours. So there were some days where it was really, really a lot of studying. Prayer is very key. So whatever you do there, accountability partner, a good support system. My husband was super supportive. And actually on the third time, I really decided not to tell anyone but my mom and my husband. Not that they weren't supportive, the other folks, but I didn't want the distraction. I didn't want to have to explain anything. If people wanted to come visit, I didn't want to have to say I'm studying. So I just kind of worked around it and let people come see me and just, I kept it a secret. So, those are some of the things. Practice the questions, practice. I studied in 3-hour increments. And I would say that's one of the biggest things, studying in 3-hour increments, since the exam is in 3-hour increments. And that really helped build my stamina. So if anybody wants that list, I'd be happy to share it more as well.
Wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the food and making sure you're telling only your core group. I think those are all really good tips. Miguel, do you have any tips for our listeners about how to study for the CFP?
Yeah, I would say turn off your cell phone or turn off your distractions. Really, this is something to be responsible for your own. So turn off all your distractions. Anything that can disrupt your study will disrupt your study if you let it. So be isolated. I told my wife, I'm sorry, I cannot talk. I cannot do anything for the next number of hours. So that's what I did for a number of days. Sometimes I prefer to stay at the office late just to study. I would go into a conference room and lock myself and leave my cell phone at the office and just bring my computer and study. I also ordered the physical books for the program, and the physical books made them much easier than started doing with the tablet. So starting with the tablet with the PDF books wasn't just as easy because, the tablet also has internet and also has a lot of distractions. So if you're able to get physical books for your courses, get the physical books, study with the physical books, and you can always go back to them. So good old style books are great to study because they allow you to focus much more than just a digital tool.
Love it. Great advice. Ryan, how about you?
I was just going to actually second what Miguel said about the physical books. That was a huge shift for me, and it made a big difference. And I was looking something up in one of the books the other day. I mean, obviously some stuff will go out of date, but if you've got a question, rather than going to Google, you can go to someplace that's vetted and not be like sifting through a million, online websites and whatever, when you can just use a book that's got it, and that it's been vetted and it's been edited and it's accurate.
Yeah. Abel, I'm interested in your advice to advisors who are listening about applying for scholarships and why you should just do it or not do it. What's your tip?
In the applying for scholarships, I mean, I would say go for it, because all that can be had is you're told no. It will help you out. It'll be the jump start to fuel the fire potentially, or just fuel the growth of your firm, because there's a lot of costs that are unforeseen. And when you end up joining, or if you do join a network like XYPN, you see all the bells and whistles of what membership has to offer, and you might want to spend some money in different areas. And I mean, even if you're on your own, then you you don't have access to the things that you're going to be going for. And this comes more from the CPA side, but I see businesses starting up all the time, and the businesses spend money in areas where maybe they shouldn't have, or they spent too much too early in it. Like, you might not have to spend $500 a month on Yelp to be able to get your name out there, because that means you have to get 1, 2, 3 clients to be able to pay for that right out the gate. And it may not be the most beneficial use of funds, as an example. But yeah, I think scholarship, it's available. Some people think, oh, I'll never get it. And I was kind of one of those people, and I did. So I was very happy, and it helped jumpstart me.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today for this conversation. I learned so much about you and your journeys, and I know our listeners will really have found this conversation to be valuable in terms of what's out there to prepare for the CFP and why it pays off and why it's important to put yourself out there, both for support financially, but emotionally from our friends and our core groups and things like that. Thank you all so much for your work that you've done this year on the Diversity Committee, individually and collectively. You've made a big impact on our community and moved the needle forward in our industry. Listeners, if you ever do join XYPN, please let us know if you're interested in getting involved in this committee and having a role on it. There's a number of different ways to get involved, and you'll find out more once you're in the network. But for now, trust that the Diversity Committee is being led by some incredible advisors who all have been on their own unique journeys to the CFP. Thank you each. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Maddie.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you very much.
Avocado toast, selfies, a mountain of student loan debt. Gen Y is anything but traditional, and with over 75 million people, it's a population you don't want to ignore. Learn more about how to serve this unique population in our guide called Attract and Profitably Serve Millennial Clients in Your RIA. Discover 3 key ways to tap into the millennial market and 6 things that they want from their financial advisor. Visit xyplanningnetwork.com/millennials for your free copy. Be sure to join our VIP community at xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP to hang out with other XYPN radio listeners, ask questions for future mailbag episodes, and finally, to find a community of like-minded financial advisors. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you next time.
You are not alone, and you are not crazy. It's scary starting, building, and growing your own financial planning firm, and that's why we put together a free private community just for you, the Cutting Edge Financial Planner. Go to xyplanningnetwork.com/VIP or text XYPN Radio to 33344 and join a network of thousands ready to change the lives of Gen X and Gen Y clients.